Hey guys, sorry. Welcome to episode 29. Happy Friday. Usually Eric is the one who starts us off, but I had the
You're blaming
control.
this on me, are you?
Yeah, well, kind of. But well, we're here. It's 5 minutes late, but the plane is taking off. Come on, guys, are used to delays and departure, but here we are. And Nikki will be joining us later, and hopefully Paul. But we have a hot potato. Well, hot beans that we want to roast today that I think you will enjoy. And it's the Bindergate. I think that's what the internet has decided to call it. That's
Really
the
Bindergate, the Epstein
yeah,
file
Paul Pam Bondi, who has been building up expectations, I think, over the months. Well, not what since.
Well, to be fair, okay, go ahead. I'll respond.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've gotten the timeline wrong, but there was this expectation building up that part.
She did. She definitely did. All I was going to say is that it was built up by certainly more than her. There's, I think Kash Patel said that he promised he was going to release everything unredacted within 24 hours of his appointment to the FBI.
Did he say everything, or you said parts of everything?
I don't think he said parts of everything. Like, they all said it's all coming out, man, everything. And, people believe them.
Okay. So Bondi and Patel, as an extension of Trump 2.0, said that, we're done with legacy media. You are the media now, and we're going to drop Epstein as part of this taking down the swamp. But nowhere did they say it'll be filtered through these influencers first, which is one of the aspect of what is annoying MAGA 2.0 now, right? Did I get that, to summarize that correctly? They're like, first of all, why didn't you put this on X or whatever so that we could see it for ourselves? You stage this thing where you have these influencers. Hey, that you can make it. Hi, Max.
Baxter. Yeah, he's back there. Sorry, I'm a little late. The girls. I had to move my studio because my girls are off of school today, and I got sleeping teenagers.
Oh, there you go.
So I'm just trying to do a quick summary of the hot coffee bean that we want to roast today. Is this conservative Grift media and Epstein-Gate, the Epstein-Bondi Bindergate. That's what the internet came up with. And so where was I? I'm sorry, Eric. I lost my place there.
No worries. We were talking about, you were saying that, the idea was to bypass the mainstream media, but instead of just plumb releasing this stuff like the Twitter files, right, on X, which, I think everybody was kind of expecting, they decided to release it through these handpicked, MAGA influencers. And there's tons of images, on X about it if you want to bring one up. But they so just a little bit of background. Apparently what had happened was that the White House had invited these influencers and these MAGA influencers. Again, these are muy MAGAs that, have fairly big accounts, right? That were very helpful in getting, Trump's message out. I would say that some were more helpful than others. I think some are maybe unhelpful, but, it was a bit of a hodgepodge, right? You had some of the really doctrinaire, Trump or bust people. You had some people that were, kind of like they're big influencers, but they're not 100% Trump all the time, which I think is a good thing. And then you have Scott Presler was there. I don't really put him in the same bucket as like libs of TikTok and stuff. I think that Scott Presler is a national treasure. Honestly, he's registering millions of Republicans every day. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it turns out that the story that they're all telling is that they were invited to the White House essentially for an influencer appreciation day. It wasn't necessarily that they thought that they were getting the release of the Epstein files, right? All of them were claiming that they got there and that this was sort of they were surprised with this gift, this binder. of Epstein phase 1. And here we have it, right? Them emerging from the White House, holding up their swag, as that woman in the video called it. And this right here rubbed a bazillion people the wrong way. And I got to say, I don't know about you, Nikki, but I was actually very heartened at the reaction to this, because I don't think the left does this. The left does not police themselves like this internally. I wish they did, but they do not. But there was almost universal condemnation of this. And the people, honestly, most of the people, again, I think most people gave Scott Presler a pass on this, but you have, this guy, DC Drano, and then you have Libs of TikTok, and I guess that's Liz Wheeler. And I don't know who that guy in the hat is. That's Chad Prather or something. There's some of them I'm not super familiar with, but these people just got dragged, like they got completely pounced on, and they became very defensive. And there's Mike Cernovich in the background. He got his back up, real good on this, and it's not my fault and all this stuff, but it was a real bad look. The Epstein thing is it's serious. It's like, if you're not going to release it, don't promise to release it, right? I didn't bring it up. Did you bring it up, Nikki? Like, I've always wanted to see the Epstein files, but this was not on my top 20 things that I was expecting him to do. This is something that the Trump administration put out there. They're the ones that said, we're going to do this. And then they sort of
I don't even remember that. Like, I don't even remember that being a part of,
right?
A part of the platform. It certainly was not something that was on my radar, and I posted something like that. And amazing. When I made my post yesterday about like not wanting to see the people on the list, I would rather see prosecutions, and I want to see the culture that creates the appetite for pedophilia and sex trafficking to go away. I hadn't even seen this yet. It's so interesting, because, and then I started looking at what was trending. People were commenting on my post, and I looked at, and I saw this, and I was like, what the heck? Really? People are celebrating. They're celebrating getting a binder with information, one that we already know. Like, we didn't even talk about that. They didn't get any new information.
That's another point.
Yeah, but I just, like, my main problem is with the culture that creates this issue, this Epstein Island. And yeah, definitely, I'm with you. This was not something that was on my priority list for the president of the United States to do. Now, if we want to go along the lines of transparency,
sure,
and stopping targeting humans, American citizens who aren't doing anything illegal, then yeah, that was something that was on my priority list. But this was not. So yeah, I'm with you on that, Eric.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I think there was another aspect of this, that why people are irritated by this, is that they were not expecting, and I hope it's not the case moving forward, that Trump 2.0 to, we talk a lot about how legacy media is constructed, right? You always have this mouthpiece for the regime. And this is like, it feels like it's kind of going in that direction, where you said you're going to release something to the public, but no one was expecting there's going to be a layer to handle this for the administration. So the question is, why was this given to these influencers, and why do they presume that they can gatekeep or, serve us this information? The information is kind of useless, like you said, Nikki. That's the part. Like, we don't want any like layers between the people we elected and get the information to us directly. That was one of the big critique about this PR stunt. Like, we don't need influencers. We get that you have a business to run, but don't set yourself up like you're the one that's going to tell us. You're going to parse the news to us. We don't need you. That's why we have technology like X, right? Presumably put it there, or on the White House website. Let the people decide and digest it. Don't tag your editorial or frame it around your brand. Don't brand it under you, like Cernovich or whatever people are out there. We're just tired of these like branded versions of the truth.
Well, here's the thing, Perseus. What I was trying to say before is that apparently it wasn't really done that way. It wasn't given to them as like exclusives. They're the ones that, a couple of these people actually came out and purported it to be that way. Apparently, and I've read all of their accounts, and again, I don't know what's totally true or not, right? Nobody does, but apparently they went to the White House for an influencer celebration or appreciation day. I don't know, I don't know if I'm that cool with that either, I guess, but I get it. And they were apparently surprised with this binder. And
Right.
a few of these people, fancy themselves to be investigative journalists and all this stuff. And so then you had the post of Liz Wheeler did it, where she was like standing with this thing alone after that group photo, saying like, "I've got the files, exclusive." And apparently it wasn't really an exclusive. It was they were going to sort of release these things. By the way, they were already released. All of this stuff was already released, but they were going to release it later in the day, and they'd just given these influencers essentially a parting gift, right, of it, and they took it upon themselves, a few of them, to pretend like they had an exclusive scoop. So that's the scuttlebutt. That's the story. But to back up from that, that's not okay. To both everybody's larger point, like that's a fuck up. Excuse my French. That's bumbling. That's not cool. That's not the way this is. That's bad optics at the very least. And this is an important matter. To Nikki's point, like this is sex trafficking. These are little girls, and these are very powerful men. This is potentially like blackmail and all sorts of like political shit. Like this is important, and for you guys to play games with this and to come out. And they also claim that the press was there for Keir Starmer's visit with Trump, not for them, right? So these things do coincide sometimes. And again, I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt a little bit on this, right? But they came out, they were psyched at getting their little swag, their little folder, and they were kind of laughing, and they got caught on camera. I mean, maybe, I guess. But then
I'm not buying any of that. I'm sorry.
Right. I mean, again, look, I'm being charitable, I think.
So
Afterwards, they all copy pasted the talking points across their accounts.
But that's what I mean. And I'm sorry, Eric, I'm just going to push back a little because
you're playing devil's advocate.
The follow up to that, it's almost like damage control. I just noticed, because when you watch how things kind of shift on X, it's like, okay, they say, something is not going the way we want it. So you have all these influencers now saying, well, no, it wasn't really Pan-Bondi's fault. We kind of took it on ourselves, and there was phase 1, phase 2. You just kind of track it, and you all sound alike. So this is the critique about this. Like, you guys are starting to behave like legacy media. You're trying to improv for a misstep for the people, for the White House. It doesn't matter who's in the White House. That was one of the critique. I mean, I have some clips to show you, but should I play the entirety of this? Do you want to?
I thought that this one pretty much summed up.
Okay. We could sit through 2 minutes of this. So
files have.
Sorry, you were saying?
No, go ahead. Okay. Go ahead, play that. I want to say something.
The binder of transparency, except come to find the information in this binder is already online. For example, here's a screenshot from a page in that binder. A lot of the information has been redacted. Here's that same page of names already online, unredacted. Here they are side by side, redacted, unredacted. This is what was in the binder. This is what was already available online. So today we kind of went backwards. Not ideal for the administration, to say the least, that was probably hoping to use this issue to prove how transparent they are. According to reporting from the National Pulse, quote, having spoken with several sources inside the White House meetings today, I can report what I believe to be an accurate version of events regarding the re-release of the so-called Epstein Files Phase 1, which turned out to be a re-release of information that has mostly been known for several years. Probably not what they had in mind when they handed out these binders. By the way, I have nothing against these influencers. Most of these, I think, are conservative influencers that have been invited to the White House, other than letting you guys know that not only are they influencers, but they're also now officially PR people for the the administration.
That's what I
They're
was
an extension of the Trump press corps, basically. Why do I say that? Well, because they're putting out the exact same talking points. Quote, today, I met with President Trump, VP J.D. Vance, AG Pam Bondi, and FBI Director Kash Patel in the Oval Office. They handed me a binder copy of the Epstein files. This is the most transparent administration in American history. The best part, this is just the start. AG Pam Bondi confirmed that there are thousands more Epstein file documents being secretly held in the SDNY, and they will be delivered to the DOJ by February 28th. People will be going to jail for what they've done. Hopefully that's true. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, you can actually already go to Epstein's little black book online. Just go to this URL. Also, feel free to check out this link, which has a bunch of documents the FBI already declassified, and also this third link, which was the court case between Virginia Giuffre and Ghislaine Maxwell, who was Epstein's right-hand woman. But here's what I think is going on overall, and I posted this thought on X yesterday. But if you've already looked into Epstein as well as JFK for that matter, every road kind of leads you towards.
Yeah, so my issue is so much bigger than the influencers. I some of these people I actually do despise. I do have problems with them. I have problems with the way that they support Trump and how they've conducted themselves online. I have no problem with people grifting and finding ways to make income. Absolutely. But there's, with the exception of Scott Pressler, I don't know any of them who've tried to get actual policy reforms that benefit the American people. So to have them invited to the White House in some sort of celebration, I don't know what the celebration is. Was it political? Thank you for helping getting us elected. I don't know. I don't know what that's about. I don't know that that's appropriate. But whatever. But what's most interesting about this and most bothersome about the fact that this release and the way that it was done was you had Anna Paulina Lena, I can't remember. I'm totally messing up her name. Who's a representative from Florida, who was calling out Pam Bondi for not releasing the information that they requested in the last couple of days. There was pretty much silence coming from the White House and FBI. And granted, yes, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel have only been on the job for a matter of days now. I mean, they've really just gotten confirmed. So I will give them that. However, if this information was already ready and readily available, that you could put it out in binders within a day of being called out by a congressman, then you know that this information was there. My problem is they actually went ahead, instead of replying directly to the congressman, directly to the people, Pam Bondi having her own press conference about this, they went ahead and created this this binder and gave it to these influencers. It may not even have been planned as a part of this influencer celebration. It may have been a last minute thing to say, hey, look, we are being transparent. We're giving these people this information. So, hush up about it for now. We'll get to you in a minute. I think it's the technique and the process. And to me, that's the slap in the face to the American people more than anything. These influencers smiling and posing. I don't know what the moment was that got them caught on camera doing it. That was stupid. It was irresponsible and just kind of really and pretty gross, as we've said. But the administration gave them this information. They had a strategy. They told them, oh no, you can't talk, allegedly told them you can't talk about this stuff until I have a press conference. Who does that? Like, that is just the most insane, irresponsible, unprofessional type of government action. I don't know that I could imagine seeing on this particular issue. So I give no one a pass for this. I'm worried. I am bothered. I don't think that we'll actually get any real action on this. Maybe I'm just too cynical. But if you're going to play games with the information in the beginning when people are calling you out, then I don't see any serious action. There's some alleged story that the SDNY is withholding information from AG Pam-Bondi and the FBI that then they would release. Well, why aren't there prosecutions? What is the serious plan to deal with this and to be transparent with the American people? I have so many frustrations about this entire thing. It looks awful, just plain awful. I don't know. I don't know how else to say that.
That's why we love you, Nikki.
Yeah.
You know,
I want to circle back to what you said earlier, just to reinforce what you said, Nikki. And also my larger critique about news cycles and the hamster wheel that that we're kind of running in. Like none of this news kind of connects our feeling about it to meaningful action. It's not lasting. Like you said, this issue is really ultimately about part of draining the swamp, presumably. But what's the call to action after that? So this PR stunt, which is what it is, that's how I see it, is a huge step back, I think, of what MAGA was expecting from Trump 2.0. And I hope they can fix this very quickly. But here's the thing: the follow-up to this hasn't been is disappointing too. Have you guys been tracking all these influencers and how they've been coming out and says, don't worry, this is just phase 1. Phase 2 is on its way. Like I'm starting to think it's just as awful.
They're getting shellacked though, Perseus, which I go back to. Yeah, I go back to the silver lining here. I mean, again, look, I don't like looking at the silver lining of all these things, of COVID, of all this stuff. This stuff sucks. But again, I would contend that the left does not do this, right? The modern left does not police themselves like this. Say what you want about Trump, say what you want about MAGA. MAGA is a big ass tent, right? There's a lot of people that claim like I represent MAGA or whatever. It's not that simple. And you have a whole lot of people that voted for Trump, have vested interests. And I've said this before. Look, Trump has political capital to spend because he won the election, won it handily. But I would argue that that's not all Trump's political capital. It's ours, right? Yeah. He's sort of the steward of it. And what you're seeing happen right now is that political capital being sort of clawed back by the people who it actually belongs to, or most of it belongs to. And people are pushing back on Cernovich. People are calling DC Drano out, Liz Wheeler out. Again, people are mostly giving Pressler a pass, although he did copy paste his response, which a lot of people were like, wait a second, dude, don't do that. Like if you're going to say that you were just there, I don't know, just put this book in my hand. Like, don't then, copy paste their talking points. To your point, Perseus, look, these are conservative MAGA influencers, so on a certain level, we know and expect them to regurgitate the talking points of the Trump administration. I wish it weren't that way, but that's the reality that we're in. That's how people behave, right? The left has their influencer people, the right has their influencer people. We like to think ours are better. They like to think that theirs are better. But, it comes down to how you act, right? It's not what you promise. It's not what you purport to be. It's what you do. And this is a prime example of what not to do. You do not do this. And again, I think that the reaction, the overwhelming, vociferous reaction to this, the negative reaction against the fact that it happened, against Pam-Bondi, against whomever, and against these influencers specifically, is actually a good thing. It was like 99% fuck you. And again, excuse my French. Everybody was pissed about this.
I 100% agree with you. I even posted as such. I am very pleasantly pleased to see people calling them out. Overwhelming. My timeline was flooded with people calling them out. That's how I found out about it. I mean, I didn't even look at trending topics. I've discovered it from people on my timeline calling them out, and from all walks of MAGA, like you said. Like it is a wide tent. It was multiple people. I was very pleased by that. Yeah.
Okay, let me try to understand what you're saying, Eric and Nikki. I'm trying to maybe look at this from the other side. You're saying that this is an example of, Jim put this, it shows that we are not just blind supporters of Trump 2.0 or Matt, right? Is that what you're saying? Is like we have the capacity to...
There's more free-thinking people, I guess, on the MAGA side currently, I would argue.
Okay.
And what you're seeing is, again, Trump listens. He does. Everybody thinks he gets an idea in his head and he goes, he's like, we're going to purchase Greenland, which isn't a bad idea, actually. But he does listen. And if we go back to his first term, there were several times in his first term where he floated an idea. He essentially said that it was going to happen. And a large portion of the base, online, mostly pushed back, and he changed his mind. This is one of those. I mean, you could see their course correction in real time after this, right? Again, I would love to know who in his administration thought that this was a good idea, because it was a terrible idea. And I think again, if there's any accountability, somebody got a hand slapping or a spanking or something, because this was tone deaf. This was, just really off-putting.
Stupid. It was
really
stupid. I'm sorry.
Boneheadedly stupid.
Who gives Laura Loomer this information and expects it to
Exactly
to be handled appropriately?
She was totally
dumb.
She was totally correct in her pushback on this.
Okay.
Obviously, that her, and there's probably a couple others who actually wanted to be in that group, and maybe there's a little jealousy there, but that doesn't mean that they're wrong. That doesn't mean that the bulk of her criticism is wrong, because she was absolutely correct. You're just tasteless.
Do you think this class of influencers, based on the response they've been getting, will have to rethink how influential they really are?
Well, I've had my problems with these class of influencers anyway. So, but I don't think that the people who follow them and worship them will change any of their perspective on them.
Two separate things, I would argue, but go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, following worship, I think.
I wish this was a wake-up call. Like, look, these people can be bought and paid for just like the legacy media can, because they can sit and copy paste things just like the legacy media and talking points.
That's my point. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'm with you, Perseus, on that. Yeah. I am.
They took a hit. They took a reputational hit on this.
Yeah,
they absolutely did. And they deserve to.
I just don't know that their level of influence is going to change.
Here's the thing, Eric. Sorry, Nikki. Go ahead. No, but we you and I kind of know that there's a business model behind influencers too. So at some point, just like the legacy media, we should all be cynical about anyone who is say that they're an influencer, period. That's just me. And one of my peeves is when I hear certain platforms and influencers being credited for, turning out the voters. I don't know. I question that, because I know there are a lot of people in my district here who don't know who any of these influencers are, but they did turn out to vote. There are a lot of people on the ground that did work that's not going to get an invite to Mar-a-Lago or the White House. You know what I mean? But they did turn out to vote. They did do the grassroots work, and they don't know who any of these influencers are. So I question, this, like you said, Nikki, like this class of influencers in their role in gatekeeping information or parsing information. It's just not the culture that we need to, moving forward. We have the technology, post it online. If this is really about transparency, that's like the most transparent. Put it online, and let us decide.
But they're not the gatekeepers, though, Perseus. They can pretend to be.
I feel like they are.
No, they're not. They're not. I think that like you're kind of buying into their hype a little bit. Again, this was the people that were there. It was a bit of a hodgepodge. Again, I wouldn't look, I don't know Scott Pressler personally, but in terms of like his get out the vote efforts, he absolutely has done a fabulous job. I know that you might not have heard him, but he might have single-handedly, given Pennsylvania to Trump this last time. Okay. So you know what I mean? Like just because somebody in your district was doing a great job, like he's doing it, but like on a much larger scale. Yeah. So whether or not we want to invite people like him and celebrate them in the White House, I think Nikki has a point. It feels, I do long for a time where that was not the norm, right? But we're kind of not in Kansas anymore, and that is the norm now. So it didn't surprise me that they were invited, and celebrated, right? I don't like it, but I get it.
And I do think a lot of those people did play a role in getting some information out to voters, whether or not they're on X or not.
Right.
A lot of what they reported or publicly or made transparent was sent to the news media. So this is talking about. I give them some credit for that. I'm more concerned about I don't know. I'm taking each of them as individuals.
Yeah, I think we should. They're not a monolithic group.
They're not a monolithic group at all. I agree. Yeah.
But okay, I'm just trying to be annoying here. I'm saying that this kind of culture of being invited to the White House can condition them to think like a monolithic group. There's a potential of that. Then I'm just going to point that out.
Sure, the White House is,
they get used to, you know what? Let's all get together in the van and go to the White House. And then you do that enough, it's like, oh, now we are the
nature. I Garrett, look,
better press.
The three of us are pure as the driven snow. Okay, let's just agree on that. All right, we're awesome. If we got the invite to go to the White House, and hey, your Friday morning podcast that goes on live on X, is so great. We want to come and honor you. President Trump wants to honor you. And we got Epstein Volume 1. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't go out, but like, you know what I mean? Like there is something about human nature when you're sort of entrusted with this. There's a lot of psychology here. And a lot of these people probably really think that they're independent, even though they're, personally MAGA, they try and, build walls and stuff. This kind of preferential treatment absolutely does, disintegrate those walls, and it does have an effect, right? And we see that with the legacy media, with how they were given access to the Biden administration. It's like when you get access like that, your tendency is not to stab the person who gave you access. So they know that. That's part of the strategy. It's humans.
Well, I want both of you to hold me accountable if in this hypothetical future that somehow this stream becomes in the order of magnitude of what we're seeing with those influencers. Just say, Tom, remember what you were calling them out. Now, don't be a hypocrite. So I don't know. I
am going to go on the record right now and say that that is an extreme hypothetical that will never ever happen. Just from this episode alone, where we're critiquing this White House,
right? It's now. No, but I'm attacking the indie guy. I'm totally like indie, as Eric knows. So if they like become one part of some. Pile into a van and drive off to the White House and have cocktail before a press briefing. You just call me out on it.
But again, I would argue that it's human nature. Megyn Kelly, remember she was on the outs with Trump for years, after that, the debate thing.
Yes.
And she had a chance to interview him. I guess it was last spring or something where, her show got is really big on YouTube, the Megyn Kelly show. And she got an interview with Trump. And this was right around the time she was kind of coming off of supporting DeSantis and realizing that, Trump was sort of the train to be on. And I remember that she went on or had Bannon on her show, and Bannon was the one that sicked his minions to sort of, come after her online and stuff. And she really, she sort of got over a hump to talk to Steve Bannon again. And then she interviewed Trump. And Megyn Kelly has sort of become famous for being very anti the COVID response, which again, Trump was largely responsible for. And so she got this chance to do this interview. She did the interview. She asked some tough questions. And Megyn Kelly's a tough cookie, but she didn't really broach any of the COVID stuff. Didn't broach the lockdowns hardly at all. Didn't talk about the vaccines. And afterwards, she got some shit for it. And her explanation was like, look, I want to be able to talk to him again. And I knew that if I came in there and, tried to kneecap him, that this would be my last interview with him. And I think it's more important, and my role is more important in the long term to develop a relationship. And, there's tons of other people, peppering him with these questions and trying to, get this information out of him, get him, hold him to account on these things. I didn't feel like it was worth blowing up this relationship that I just rebuilt with him. Now, you can disagree with that. And I kind of think I do. I think that I kind of was disappointed that she didn't, hit him with some of the stuff, because that stuff is important to me. But I understood from her sort of a journalistic and sort of future looking strategical angle the reason why she didn't do it. And it comes back to what I was just saying about these influencers, about how, they're not going to go into the White House, get a binder, come out and stomp on it and say, screw you, this should have gone online. You know what I mean? Like, they would be out, they'd be done, so that I don't know. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying it's tough. People are people. And here we are.
Yeah, I just pulled this up and I thought maybe we can just wrap up Bindergate and move on to something that's maybe related to, Nikki, you shared the link with this book that just came out about the cover up for Biden's decline, mental decline.
Yeah.
But before we go there, so we talk about class influencers and this layer of media for the White House. Do you guys watch Jesse Waters? You don't know who he?
I know who he is, but I don't watch.
Okay, that's great. I guess he thinks he's more important than he is. He's a legend in his own mind. I'm so glad to hear that from both of you. But we watch him when my partner and I have dinner. It's like something that just.
I think he's pretty smart, for the record. I mean, when I do catch his clips, I think I watch the 5 sometimes, just because that's when I'm making dinner. And I actually think he has pretty smart takes on that show. So
but he has been, I feel like, doing a lot of damage control for this misstep, and a lot of the influencers that we saw in that group photo, their talking point is almost similar. Well, it's actually Bondi. I know Bondi promised to give you everything on a certain date, but phase 1 is because we just found out that it's the FBI from the last generation. It's their fault that we didn't get everything. So hold on, just phase 2 is on its way out, and people that's part of the annoyance. This whole potentially new media culture that could come out of this, like, don't play us anymore. Like, we're not the same audience that that CNN has. We're going to be very critical of you. So don't think that you could do damage control or have PR stunts that we're not going to call you out on it. We're not, like, to Eric's point, we are not CNN's audience. MAGA is an entirely different audience, and we have no problem calling out anyone.
It's a
Trump 2.0.
I think it's a really good reaction.
Yeah.
But just not to belabor it, but Jesse Waters, right? He probably has the phone numbers of people higher. He probably has Trump's phone number. He's not going to jeopardize. Like, they're gonna text him and be like, "Hey, man, can you put this out?" And he's going to do it, because if he doesn't do it, they're going to stop calling him.
Thank you. This is what Jesse Waters feels like in the last 2 days. It feels like he did get a call from Mar-a-Lago or White House and Pam Bondi and says, we need to do some damage control. Help us out a little. This is what he's been sounding like in the last 2 days. Yeah, like you said. So, I just think that, again, I'm making the same point, but it's human nature. And I think that one thing that's different, and to your point, Perseus, about sort of the new era, like the new zone that we're in, right? Where it's sort of social media on steroids, where all the media, right? This is like, there's no more they're trying to use these channels and these chambers that don't really exist anymore, right? And I guess
what I'm trying to say is that we're aware of it now in a way that I don't think that we were before. And so the fact that we're aware of the fact that Jesse Waters is doing, like, if you look at that post, it's sort of devoid of the Jesse personality, right? Like it's almost like a press release kind of.
You know,
thing.
I didn't pick up on that. That's yes, thank you. That's what I picked up on too.
And
Like,
I
wait a
took
minute, you're
that,
kind of reading up
that
what was
is almost his way of being like, you know, like, kind of have to do this. You know, this is probably true. Let me put it out. But he's not arguing personally, like hard for it, which I think is telling.
Yeah. So, so Nikki, do we want to like move on to the next segment? Do you want to talk about this book that you shared with me that you found on X? It's
I think it's related.
It's related, I guess. It's kind of related to what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. So Jake Tapper and who's the other guy? The journalist. Another journalist authored a book.
What's his face?
To talk about the truth.
I'm so glad you brought this. It's so
Pull up-
infuriating to me.
I think I have the link here. Let me just pull it up. Go ahead. Yeah.
Because then I'll
I have to.
my mind refreshed.
No, I got
This was
the
the
link.
biggest news on the internet before the Epstein thing knocked it off of its pedestal.
It's totally right.
So let me pull up this link here. Yeah. So why should everyone rush out to buy this book? Hold on a minute. Let's just. Sorry, my connection's a little slow today. Let me just do it again. Just give it a second. It's going to come online.
Right. Well, while it's doing that, we're talking about influencers and journalists who have the privilege to get insider information or to ask questions of our administration and get information that either gets released to us or they, if they choose to or not. Their job really is to report information and to the people, be the liaison between the people and the government, right? That's their job. And now, and throughout the time that Joe Biden was president, we know that the man was not altogether with it. We knew that. Those of us who were really paying attention knew that even when he was campaigning, that his mental health was declining. And for 4 years, we were told by the legacy media, particularly those on the left, that Joe Biden was completely fine. He was at tip-top shape and he was doing great. Until that debate in, I believe it was June, during the election cycle with President Trump and President Biden, no one admitted that there was an issue with Biden's mental faculties. And now Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, two journalists who were charged with reporting that information, have published a book. And now being critical of the fact that this information was withheld. The title, Original Sin, President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again. It just reeks of, I mean, it's disgusting that they're now profiting off of something that it was their job to do in the first place. They should have been reporting on this information. They completely denied it. They called anyone. These two were people who were participating in calling out calling people who questioned Biden's faculties Nazis and liars. And I mean, it just was disgusting for 4 years. And now they're trying to claim that they had no involvement in it, it seems like, with this title. It's just, I mean,
Yeah, when you shared this, I was confused because I know Jake Tapper to be the epitome of the mouthpiece for the regime. And you've been working on a book all this time, like after hours. So this goes back to what we we're talking about earlier, is like why I'm so cynical about anyone who, has a platform or a brand or a face, and then audiences are not discerning they don't want to do their own research, and you just assume this person is speaking from good intent and being a good journalist. But all this time, I was like, wait a minute, you were working, you had a side hustle going on while you were extolling the health of Biden, that, you know, he's.
No, was it a side hustle? Was it just, you were lying. It wasn't a side hustle. You were lying to us. You were gathering information to eventually create a book. You were lying to us by telling us that he was okay.
Right.
And then you're going to accuse other people of being a part of the cover up. I mean, unless there's chapters in this book where they disclose themselves as being a part of the cover up, this book itself, I mean, it's just it's a glaring.
Can I play this clip from Eric?
Canvas.
So,
go ahead.
Is Eric? This clip is like what you said before and what you're saying now. Kind of
exactly on point. Go ahead and play it.
Okay.
Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have no. That's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
When you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses, diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father.
Jake.
Wow. That's a good one.
Who was he talking with on that?
He was talking to Laura Trump.
Oh, okay.
And this was a while ago, and, you know, I wholeheartedly agree with you. This is infuriating. You know, as somebody who loves this country, I didn't vote for Biden. I wasn't a big fan, right? But, you know, I mean, it was pretty obvious early on that he was not with it. And the question that everybody had was, who's running the damn country? And that was the question that most of the country was assuming that people like Jake Tapper were there to ask, that was his job. And again, you know, I knew that he was a piece of shit. But most of the American public, including like people I know, like my mom watches CNN. She thinks that Jake Tapper is this arbiter of fairness. And for him to spend, you know, 4 full years defending somebody who was obviously mentally addled and then arguing with people and demeaning them on air when they would bring it up is just beyond the pale. And then he comes out with this book. It is incredibly insulting. And, you know, similar to the Epstein blowback, that was universal. Like this was like 99%, like there were hardly any posts or responses like, congrats on your book, Jake. Like everybody was like, you fucktard. What are you doing?
Yeah,
like,
except
you can't do this.
This goes to your point, Eric. I didn't see Democrats calling him out. Yeah, I know that there were Democrats who voted for Trump calling him out, but there weren't. This wasn't you didn't see major people within the Democratic Party calling them out for this book.
I saw
there were lots of congratulations and thank yous for this book. If you look at his posts about this and look at the comment section, the people who were critical were people on the right.
Right.
People who were praising and, you know, were Democrats and Democratic media. I mean, it's like, thank you. You're giving us this gift. Finally, someone's saying it. And we knew it all along. No, you're lying pieces of shit.
It's terrible.
And you're profiting off of it.
It's so obvious too.
Sick.
Yeah. It's insulting how obvious it is. You know, you know what I mean? It's like I can't think of an example or a parallel.
It's not even cognitive dissonance. It's complete lying and fabrication.
Bald face, straight up lying. And it's so transparently like bad. And he's doing it anyway.
Well,
and Jake Tapper was one of the people who promoted the Russia collusion hoax, knowing that it wasn't true. Molly Hemingway has called him out on this publicly and produced all of the receipts. So he is not an upstanding character in journalism at all. This shattered any remaining respect that I have for him. But no, he gets some things right. You know, every now and then he'll point something out. He was one of the people who called out the find people on both sides hoax, and actually, you know, spelled out that Trump did not say that. He was one of those people who got that right, and I gave him credit for that. I give him no credit anymore. None. Zero.
Yeah. He torched his entire, like, whatever was left of his.
Yeah. I'm curious, Eric, you said that your mom, your parent looks up to Jake Tapper. Would this change your mind now?
It's interesting to watch, because my parents are really good, you know, pressure test for, you know, people who are, you know, dependent on the legacy media. They do watch CNN because they think it's fair. They're older. They're a lot older. They're definitely like boomers, but I do think that they're representative, because I run into a lot of people like this. And they don't watch Fox. They don't like Fox. They don't watch MSNBC. They don't like MSNBC, but they think that they're doing the right thing by watching airport television, which is CNN. They did like Chris Cuomo before he left. They talk about Sanjay Gupta all the time. And they do like Jake Tapper. They think he's a straight shooter. Not perfect, but they do trust him. And I have seen chinks in this armor through, you know, even though my mom does not like Trump at all, you know, if you sit down and talk to her, like, you'll find where it's like, oh yeah. They didn't like when they were lying about, for instance, the campus protests and things, because they felt like that the people sort of burning the you know, burning Columbia and stuff was just horrifying. So that was a real disconnect. I haven't talked to them about this, but I could see that this would be kind of in that zone, because I mean, how dumb do you have to be? How bought and sold do you have to be to have not noticed Biden's decline, right? Like, you didn't have to admit it publicly. If you were a hardcore Democrat and you're semi-sane, you had to have noticed it, right? And therefore, when Jake Tapper comes out with this book claiming like, oh, this is new news to me, oh my God, you know, and having watched him for 4 years, again, you have to, you know, any normal person would be like, what? You know what I mean? Because everybody has that everybody has some sort of BS detector, right, in them. How fine-tuned it is up to the individual person. But this is so blatant. This is so obvious. He pushed this. This was one of his big issues, pushing back on the idea that Biden was, you know, somehow, you know, declining. We saw in that clip, there's tons of clips. And for him especially to come out on this and pretend like he never said what he said, and now he's like trying to help, is just super rich, man. It's awful.
I want to get your take on this other person that I think is related to this Jake Tapper story and Biden's that we know all along about his decline. Her name's Lindy Lee. I don't know whether you've heard. She's been on the interview circuit a lot.
She's the Democrat donor.
The fundraiser who supposedly purple pilled. I say purple pill just because it's not versus red pill, but you know, she's been going around saying that she quit the DNC after the money went missing in Kamala's campaign, and that she knew about Biden's decline all along, and the cover up behind it. So do you guys think that that she's on speed dial with Jake Tapper too, and maybe they were working on this book together?
I don't know very much about her.
I just yeah, I just don't think she's a unique character in politics. I think there are people who are social climbers. There's also political climbers and influencer climbers. This is someone who was working on campaigns and raising money for the Kamala Harris campaign, going out immediately after the election, being very critical of the campaign, the Democrat strategy, and then suddenly being, you know, slowly embraced by MAGA, which isn't unusual to see either. But she also pointed, but interestingly, she also posted that she voted for Harris during the campaign, but later said something to the fact that, to allude to the fact that she actually didn't, but then tried to explain it by saying I couldn't very well, report that I voted, for the other guy when I was working for the campaign. It's all just shady. Going back to a lot of what Eric was saying earlier, it's human nature. People are going to grift, and they're going to do what they need to do to survive, either through their social climbing, political climbing, or for monetary gain. That's just what they do. It's human nature. We just need to be cautious and discerning about the people we accept in our circles.
That's right.
And she's one of these people. I don't know. This post here seems to be alluding to her being some sort of Chinese agent, or spy or whatever. That's where this is going. I don't know how far to take that. Is it possible? Absolutely. I just don't see her as a trustworthy person, and worthy of sort of any any type of honorable position in either politics or media or anywhere. So I just, but it does speak to the fact that we are, I don't know, so as far as social media goes and politics go, that we do readily embrace people who don't deserve our trust.
Yeah, I think that's really the larger point I was trying to bring up too. And I wasn't featuring her to make a point about maybe she's connected to the CCP. I think that's a segment of the right media on the right. They always like to tie it back to certain foreign actors, and some of it may be true and some of it may not be. But this is really to the point about the quality of conservative media or the media on the right, and the grift culture and what that does, and people's response to it. And I think we've kind of established that we don't behave like the passive audience on that watch CNN. So, right, we are more discerning about what we see, and we have no problem calling them out. When
we're not perfect, and I just think that the mechanism that allows that check and balance that you just described to happen is transparency, right? And I think that, for all the downsides of social media and X, I mean, we can go on for days, right? There is an upside, and that is information. It's not perfect. It's not all true, not at all. But what we have is the hive mind. Or it's not the hive mind. We've got to be careful of the hive mind. But you have sort of the population who's interested and is pressure testing these things. And it kind of goes through the spanking machine, all of this stuff, whether it's an idea or a news story or a person like, I wanted to call her Lucy Liu, but that's not her name. But anyway, whoever, this woman who was a hardcore, shit throwing Democrat strategist for a long time. And then all of a sudden is like, hey, MAGA, what's up? Everybody's like, like that's how the mechanism works. Is it perfect? No, but it's very powerful, and it hasn't ever really existed like this in history. And I think we're just kind of getting our bearings. We're getting our feet wet with this. We're all part of it. And again, I think that what happened with the Epstein files yesterday, and similarly what just happened with Jake Tapper's book, is a really healthy part of that mechanism where, again, individuals add up and become sort of a force to push back on bullshit. And I applaud that. I cheer that on. Is it 100% accurate? No, but I would argue it's way more accurate than some sort of, a fact-checking, outfit or algorithm, or AI bullshit. These are people. This is the culmination of people, like building off of other people, establishing trust right? We're talking about the grifters and stuff. Those people in that picture lost a severe level of trust yesterday, whether they want to admit it or not. And either they're going to build it back, or they're going to be okay with not being as trusted, but having like some sort of like, dependable MAGA base. I don't know DC Drano from anybody, but like, I could see perhaps like Pressler kind of immediately was like, I kind of regret being there, right? Everybody else was kind of digging their heels in on it, right? So all of a sudden people are like, out of these 10 people, it's sort of starting to separate. Like, there's a couple who are like maybe caught up in this mess, who maybe deserve a little bit more, maybe a second chance. And then there's the other people that are kind of on the shit list, right? That's how it works, right? Look, we're in marketing, Perseus. That's how marketing works. That's how brands work.
Yeah. I mean, the people who really instantly recognized that there was a problem and started speaking out. And Scott is one of those people. He started talking about what his intention was for going to the White House yesterday, what work he actually did do, and then and continue to post about the work that he's actually doing. That is a sign that in his mind he knows that there was something horrible about those optics from yesterday.
Yep, he got it right away.
He's someone I can forgive. He's someone because I know that he's done the work. I've used his early vote action app. It's pretty awesome. And then, like you highlighted earlier, Eric, his work. I do believe that he's the reason that Trump took Pennsylvania. I absolutely believe that. And he seems to be very genuine. I have not heard one person say a negative thing about him. Some of these other characters, I don't know them personally. I don't know anything about them personally. I haven't seen enough transparent information about them to make any kind of judgment call on their character.
It's not personal.
I have not seen a lot of their work product. Laura Loomer is not someone I respect at all. So nothing's going to change about my opinion on her, but she's going to still have her followers. I don't know, how much of that is going to change, because she was very critical of the administration, like you said. So people who follow her and support her are probably going to give her a pass for that reason. But these other people, I don't know. I honestly don't know how they're going to be received from this moment on. But they have to, I don't follow any of them. I don't engage with them. I maybe once, kind of took a look at them, and, I used to be mutual follows with Cernovic, way back in kind of the 2016, time period. But if I am not seeing a legitimate effort to make changes for the American people that benefit the American people, using your influence and your connections with this White House, then you've permanently lost any type of respect that I had for you with this moment.
Yeah, the other point I want to make is, it's the second what you said, Nikki, is that I think a lot of this kind of content that we're consuming, put out either by Grift media, media on the right or on the left, is that there's not much of a call to action to them. Beyond hit like and subscribe and, watch what happens tomorrow. I like to see more content that's more intentional. Like, I have this ethos about connecting your thought to meaningful action. That's important. Teaching people this is how you get things done. This is how you write legislation, whatever, just more intentional and more proactive. But maybe I'm just being naive about what it takes to produce that type of content. So maybe I shouldn't be too hard on these influencers, quote unquote. Maybe it's more difficult to produce. Takes longer to produce a content like that than it is to build a business around like what's the new in the news cycle. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement there in the type of things that we can consume and put out there and produce, and maybe that's a space that we could excel in. Yeah,
a lot of people built their brand on outrage and anger and frustration and exposing, the left. That's a lot of those influencers. That's what they did. And those are the things that are getting you clicks and impressions. Right now in Elon Musk's world, you have to get a minimum of 5 million impressions in a 3-month period in order for you to get subscribers to your content. So people like you and I, who are trying to give out information, good information, aren't getting the likes and the, you know, and the hits on our work. We may have followers, you know, that, you know, a lot of followers, enough to, you know, be seen in a reasonable amount so that, you know, we can gain more impressions. But to get people to subscribe and monetize our platforms, it takes a lot more. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a ton of posts and engagement in order to be able to do that. And I don't, so that is my problem. If there is nothing that is beneficial coming out of your work product for the people, teaching people how to, you know, in my case, be healthier, to make healthier choices, how to discern from good information and bad information, you know, that's how to connect with your congressman or your representative, how to get your policies that you're interested in across the finish line. Any of that, how to make a phone call to connect to the White House when you're pissed off with AG Epstein-Bondi for not, you know, for for publishing horrible, you know, if a psyop, basically, whatever. If you're not doing anything to benefit the people, but you are getting impressions and likes and monetizing off of it, then that's a problem.
Thank you for putting it. Yeah, and I just want to add, you know, Eric is great at making signs too. So that's like another, that's what we're talking about. Your portfolio, your content, what's in your portfolio.
Yeah.
You know, that is constructive, instructional, and gets people to be more proactive.
Yeah.
In changing things. Yeah. So.
And I'm really sensitive to this right now because, you know, I don't practice clinical medicine. You know, most of my time is spent trying to get people to understand information, you know, about their healthcare. But I also need to get paid. I need to take care of my family. So when I see people like this who are making fun of a moment when they potentially have information about sex trafficking of children, and these are the people who are getting the influence and getting invited to the White House and don't have any type of strategy to improve the lives of the American people, then I'm getting real pissed. I take it personally, you know, in that respect. It doesn't change how I'm going to, you know, continue doing my work, but I just can't have, I can't tolerate this type of juvenile behavior and disrespect for American people. So I'm calling all these people to call themselves out. Jake Tapper to be honest, and you know, people like him, people to call him out, not by this stupid book that's a lie. It's based on a lie. You know, support the people who are actually doing real work. That's what I'm hoping for out of this moment.
Yeah. So I don't have a happy bean to cleanse our palate. I think it was a pretty strong brew today, but I really enjoyed it. So if we have anything else we want to close out this episode with,
one quick thing. I agree with Nikki. I think that I'm kind of positive on the future of this stuff. Again, I think if we can fix the algorithms a little bit to not always reward negativity, you know, because that is a problem, right? We know that everybody says they hate negative political ads, right? But when you test them and you put them in front of blind focus groups, the negative ads always perform better than the positive ads, right? So there's a again, we come back to human nature. I talk about it a lot. You know, humans are humans. We're not perfect, and we are often very much in dismissal of our downsides and our negatives, right? But if we are aware of that, we can sort of move forward. And I think that, again, this social media mechanism that we're in the infancy of, frankly, this sort of cross-check that happens in real time among millions of people. I think that, you know, if it's transparent and it is largely, you know, allowed to flow freely, I do think that the natural checks and balances will weed out the bad shit, you know, the dishonesty, a lot of the negativity. And I think the people that are genuinely good and helpful and consistent, to Nikki's point, will be rewarded. And I think what happened yesterday with the Epstein thing, just saying, and even the Jake Tapper thing, is that you're going to get dinged if you're not honest. You know what I mean? If you sort of try and game the system and you get busted on it, you're going to get brought down, right? And you kind of don't get a lot of chances to come back from that. Honestly, I don't know how many other chances the DC Dranos of the world are going to get, but they took a big hit yesterday. We'll see how they try and recover. But my advice to them would be, stop acting like a toady and actually start trying to be honest. You know, that means that you can disagree with Trump sometimes. That means that you can have some principles. I don't have to agree with you every time, but if you're honest and you're consistent in that honesty, I'm going to respect you. I'm going to follow you. I'm going to retweet you or whatever when I agree with you. Mm-hmm. I know you agree with me, Nikki.
Yeah, well, you know, it sounds like Eric is trying to serve a happy being there by closing out like on a positive note. So I really can't just leave you guys hanging. So I did find something that's somewhat of a happy being. So look upon this consistently cute. I don't know what that is.
That is great.
That's not AI. That's actually supposed to be, yeah, this cat has a condition. But okay, we'll close it with that. Yeah. And so with that, thank you everyone again. And I hope to see you in episode 30. Wow, we made it to 30. Yeah. So thanks everyone.
Super cool.
All right,
Stay
thanks.
positive. Yeah. Okay.
Have a great weekend.